Are we ever?
Over there.
No.
It's okay.
That's
But
how
this
we make the
is-
best content.
Oh, the light. Yeah.
Episode 19 is an important episode.
This is an important episode.
A small child out of the
Is this
view of the
19?
camera.
Steve, this is episode 19.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Back there.
I've lost the significance of like 19.
It was the number that made the town of Tool go crazy. It was the number that unlocked the secret of what lies beyond death.
And it's how old Stephen King was
When he wrote the first one, yeah.
when he wrote The Gunslinger.
It's also gonna continue as an important number, and so we're gonna celebrate it now.
Episode 19, actually. So you were talking about rainbows.
Rainbow.
Our book's going to be talking about rainbows soon.
Rainbow.
I guess so. I saw what the next chapter's called. It's called Wizard's Rainbow. That's where we're going to be starting next time.
I wonder if
Rainbow.
this one will have rainbows in it.
Did you get the new one?
Is that
You
the eye?
piece of shit. That's Fairy Tale.
What?
It just
What is
came
this?
Out this month.
Yeah, that's
Don't be
Fairy
fucking
Tale.
lying.
came out
I
like
live
3
in the
days
dark.
ago.
You can't tell me what?
Yep, it's a new one. And people are
Very
saying, well, there was one quote where the guy's like, I looked over at my wife and she said there's no good place to stop. And she finished it because she stayed up all night and read it.
Oh.
Sounds
The
like
end-
work with the devil.
The entire back is one
I-
quote from Charlie Reed. Or Ready.
I don't.
But Charlie
I don't even know who that
Reed,
is.
fake
Yeah, I've never
name
heard of
put on the
Charlie
back
I don't
of the
either.
I trust him.
Charlie Reed, what's his last
I'm
name?
already-
Books?
Well, he was Charlie Reed until he finished it, and now he's Charlie Red.
Charlie
Red.
Red. Oh, there you go. Smart. Smart.
I can't believe what Charlie Reed tells me.
That sounds really cool.
It's
I'm gonna go pick that up tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, I've already used my Audible credit on it, so I'm just
Oh, baby.
waiting on a good time to actually actually read it because this is actually
a
taking up
credit.
quite a bit of my time.
I have a freaking credit. I could do that too.
It's supposed to be very, very good. It's supposed to be like someone said, like a return to his
What's
roots.
the name of it?
Fairy Tale. Fairy Tale. What we have going on today, though, is the chapters 2,
Probably read it
3,
too.
and 4 of Wizard and Glass in the second section called what, Come Reap? Is that what this one's called?
Ho, ho, ho.
I believe. Let's just make sure that was it. Yes.
Oh, that is not.
Come Reap. Let's go ahead and bring us on screen here. Hello. Good people, if you're in chat tonight, hi, hi, hi. We're reading the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. We're on book 4
Tam's taking the potion of youth.
called Wizard and Glass.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Tim's lost some
Quick
height.
working potion.
She went in.
You need to send me about 3 of those. Girl at the Window starts off kind of as a change of scenery for everyone, and we jump right into like Rhea.
Oh, we gotta be careful if little one is listening about some of the stuff.
Let me
I'm
go
going
ahead
to
and
be held
stop,
back.
because we're talking about the book.
Adult stuff.
It's
Like-
grown-up stuff. Yes.
Stuff about magic
Scary.
witch ladies.
Yes. Talking about a mean
And
old
there's
witch.
cats and snakes and shit.
And she has a cat that has 6 legs and a
What the
snake that
fuck?
tries to attack. Oh my goodness, it's bad.
What did I
It's-
do? Ah,
You touched it. That's what you did. You
Jesus.
broke it.
Criminies. Fixed it. I'm better now. Everything's good.
Oh.
She's getting violent. So is Rhea, actually. She's having an issue here.
Oh, come on.
She can't get her ball to work. She's upset because Susan didn't do what she was supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's up when you're courting to sour cream. empty that. I'm just kidding. It was one left over in there.
And then we jump into a confrontation between Elaine and Cuthbert.
Were you scared?
They're definitely not in a good place right now as far as a quartet. I'm sure that's one of the things we've all kind of noticed.
I see.
A little bit of disarray. They are not getting along the way that they should. And it seems to me that Cuthbert's fed up. He has had enough. Elaine talks him down. Cuthbert's trying to get Roland to like decide to do something, so they decide they're going to go see the sheriff in the morning.
I think they talked about with a list that would take like years.
Yes, Roland is very happy with the idea, giving them a list of like the ranches they're going to visit and what they're planning on counting next, and that way the Reimer and Jonas and all those guys, they can kind of keep track of them. And it's a really smart idea, and Roland is super receptive of it. That was their decision to go see them in the morning. They make their way to town, and of course, guess where they walk by? But Susan's house. Roland makes a slight mistake, starts to blow a kiss, and then turns it into like a nice little salute, which makes Cordelia nervous. Yes.
Yes.
That's what I
Just
figured.
like with that smile.
She definitely starts down a path, like starts thinking about like.
He starts thinking.
Yes. Then we got the sheriff's office where Roland and Cuthbert are there to speak with the sheriff. And guess who is standing there with a deputy badge? None but Mr. Jonas. And apparently both his homeboys have a badge as well. They have been welcomed into the constabulary. That's the right word. They are supposed to be helping with reap time. So there's a little bit of a confrontation there. Cuthbert is usual Cuthbert and kind of starts a little bit of a fight. As they're talking, though, Jonas is playing a game of castles and like just absolutely destroys his opponent and kind of uses it to say things like, what did he say? Here we go. He says, you want to remember that, Dave. I play to win. I can't help it. It's just my nature. Like the scorpion said to the maiden as she lay dying, you knowed I was poisoned when you picked me up. He sounds pretty full of himself here. Pretty much like giving a thinly veiled warning to what he thinks is just a couple of upstart kids who are kind of in his way.
Does everyone know that parable?
The scorpion and the maiden?
Yeah.
Tell us.
I've never heard of it.
Basically, a scorpion needs to cross the river, is how I heard it. And it can't get anyone across the river with it because all the animals are like, dude,
You're a scorpion.
You're a scorpion. You're gonna poke me. So, the maiden takes it. Scorpion pokes her. I guess they both go down.
Yeah, it's like halfway across the river, and the scorpion stings her, and she's like, "Why would you do that?"
I've always heard it a frog takes the
Frog,
scorpion
yeah,
across.
frog and a scorpion.
But I imagine that's the same one. Anyway,
Sounds a lot like the same lesson is being taught here, where it's like, you knew what I was when we started, and you should have expected this end because of exactly what I am.
Basically, don't fuck with me, but you know what you're fucking with. Don't be surprised.
You knowed I was poisoned when you picked me up.
It is just following the trend of everything we've been reading.
Correct. And then following the trend of everything we've been into so far. Speaking of poison, Susan and Cordelia have it out. And Susan finally stands up for herself, which I'm very proud of her in this scene. She she definitely says some things to her aunt that have been needed to be said for a long time.
Any good
I don't mind her so much
15-year-old
now.
should be saying,
It's been a long time coming.
yeah.
Well, there's definitely a falling out here, and they come to words. And of course, at the end, Cordelia's final thrust in this fight is when she gets all sad and she's like, "How can you call me so? What's coarsened your tongue and your regard for me?" As if the last fucking 6 months or so have just been like flowers and rainbows. I've
Right
always
after
wondered
she-
about that character.
That's Jackson's.
Does anybody know about that? Like know someone like that?
My mother.
Just a miserly.
It's they don't see any wrong they've done. They feel as though they're entitled to the child or young adult's respect no matter what, whether or not, if I say, jump, you have to say how high or just
Sure,
do it.
yeah.
And it's this whole when you finally get sick and tired of their shit, you call them out on it. They go, but I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been, I've never done it, or you're just over dramatizing it, or you're just being dramatic. Yeah, it's a whole thing, and it's shitty. I related a little too hard on that one.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain kind of personality trait where these people are willing, it's like the bully in the back of the class who will snap the bra strap and pull the hair and be as mean and as like assholey as possible until someone finally stands up and says, "What the fuck are you doing?" And then they're like, "Oh, I was just joking. It was just a joke. You can't take a joke. Why are you so serious?" And it becomes a "How could you do this to me?" kind of a thing, as opposed to it's obvious that this is what you get for the things you've already been doing the whole time. There's a very real kind of, I think for me, this is when her character kind of starts that major switch from being someone who was being led to someone who's finally aware of their situation.
And then just say, "Fuck you."
Definitely not. The sheriff is very happy about the list, and pretty much thinks that they're just morons. He pretty much just thinks that the kids are morons, and they're pretty much handing them exactly what they should hand them.
Except he's got a scratching feeling at the back of his head that he can't ignore.
Well, Jonas is definitely not happy with what's going on. When they make it back to the Barquet, Roland, it says here, Roland looked at him blankly for a moment as if startled out of a doze. The next move is theirs. We count, we wait. He just pretty much decides that was our move, and now we just wait around for their move because I have shit to do. There's lots of stuff that I have to do, and I'm already thinking about something else already right now. So there's definitely a little bit of bad blood. The chapter ends with Cuthbert saying, "Wake up, please, Roland. Wake up before it's too late." I think that's really an important thing here. Cuthbert is saying more than once that shit's not right. They definitely need to figure something out. Chapter 3 starts pretty much the way the other chapters start. We get a good idea of what's happening in the town, kind of the last bit of rain before it starts to get cold. Everyone's kind of struggling to get the harvest out. They're definitely setting up for reap time, and that's another thing too. Is it's a harvest festival. It's one of those things you'll kind of see a couple of things that are very close to what we would consider a fall festival, or even Halloween stuff, where they're talking about stuffy guys They're talking about sharp roots.
Stuffy guys on the bonfire made me think of Samhain. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Uh,
about.
I a lot of their traditions makes me think more like pagan.
Paganistic.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. A lot of it reminds me of like, pagan things as well. That has to do with like the harvest is a big deal.
Yes,
the
it's a
time
huge
of year is
deal.
a big
Oh
deal.
yeah,
Moon
seasons are huge.
Correct.
cycle
The
and all the
moons,
other stuff is a
exactly.
big deal.
Yes, and that's
Yeah.
also one of the things. Like, it's one of those like ways that he kind of draws the rest of the town into the story for us. We see a lot of like kind of the dressing and the setting and stuff that they're like putting together and all the different plans that they're making, and you can
wrappings
kind
and
of see.
It kind of reminds me of my hometown because actually it's very common. Like in my hometown, which is like 950 people, I think, and it's like, during like the end of the year, like the last harvest, the last reaping, everyone makes a big deal about our area is very well known for potatoes. So
There you
like,
go.
everyone gets on board with like helping with like harvesting and packaging and all this other stuff for potatoes and apples and all this other stuff. So
Very good.
it
Yes.
kind of reminded me somewhat of home.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like there's a feeling of like there's roots in this culture for these like ceremonies and these traditions, and like they definitely have a desire to like celebrate those roots and like continue the traditions. So we pick up with Mr. Jonas. He's having some problems with his hip. I can relate with the bad weather making shit hurt. My back will just scream when there's like a lot of pressure coming down on us. So, homeboy decides to hit the. I forget what they call it. What's the name of the place?
Traveler's Rest.
Traveler's Rest. Thank you. It is the local watering hole. Runs into Cordelia, who is pretty much drinking
She's,
herself
like,
silly.
She's losing her mind.
It's definitely not
Reeling in her
not having a
mind,
good
yeah.
one here.
She can't handle being the bad guy. Anyways,
Just up a little bit.
oh, can't see here.
When Cordelia seeks him out and pretty much tells him that she has a suspicion of Susan and Will Dearborn, and he pretty much says like to her like, tell me everything, and she tells him everything that she knows, and probably things that she doesn't know, things that she suspects, and then things that she's worried about. And it's definitely one of those things where he finally like has a chance to like actually like listen. We jump real quick back to Rhea, who is looking in her glass ball. She sees tons and tons of really gross things. Just people being people, really, is what it comes down to. Like there's mentions of like mothers beating children, husbands beating wives, a
Kids
gang of
cutting off
boys
dog
westward in town
tails.
cutting off dog tails, and you know what I mean, like stuff that's like feeding into her, like she's feeding off of these like things. They're somehow giving her energy through this ball.
She worded it as she shows her the worst of people, or the
Miles.
worst in people. So
Yeah, well, she also ends the chapter by licking her own cat clean, which is just disgusting. We jump back with Jonas and Cordelia. He pretty much tells her like, there's probably nothing going on here, but thanks for telling me. I'll definitely keep an eye out, and blah 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 blah, and I won't tell anybody what's going on. That kind of gets Jonas even more worked up, right? Like he already kind of had some suspicions that things aren't what they seemed. Definitely gets a lot of things kind of lined up in his head once he hears about somebody else being suspicious of these kids too. He knows that like one of them's father's a gunslinger, and so they're probably a lot more connected than they let on. So he definitely has these suspicions. There's definitely something like happening with him there, and he pretty much calls the boys up and tells them like, you know what, like start moving the tankers. He sends the bros out. They start moving the tankers. As they're doing that, he's there. He's checking, and guess what he finds? We talked about it last week. He finds the bird skull.
Yes.
Lookout.
The lookout.
When I heard that, I was like, I fucking knew it. Like, I didn't know where it was going to come back up, but I knew we were going to hear about it again. So,
It was going to be on
I
the
was
wrong
like,
side of,
of
track,
all
too.
things.
Well,
Of all things. What the fuck?
well, he definitely finds it. Kind of like lets him know even more, and stacks on top of the other suspicions that things are not as they seem. So he makes his way back to town and gets sidetracked, actually, which I think is kind of funny. Coral Thorin, who has been kind of a side player this whole time, the sister of the mayor, not the wife. She owns the Traveler's Rest, and she's been quietly drinking herself stupid for a long time, and she's pretending like no one knows. Which is exactly like what people who are in that situation, like, that's what they do. They convince themselves that no one has any idea, but everyone around them is kind of like, oh my god, you see how drunk she just got last night? Like there's like people know. It's that point when Jonas comes in. Right around the same time that Rhea's six-legged cat shows up. Jonas helps her out. He pulls a note from beneath the cat's collar. It says, "I'm dry, send the boy." Now, putting two and two together there, she sent it to the lady who owns the local booze hole. So there must be some sort of arrangement where she gets booze from town. That's probably part of her payment for not sending, plagues and like whatever down. I'm not sure how she set it up. They don't really go into detail, but I imagine it's something like that where they're kind of paying her for whatever weird witchy service that she does. Coral, however, decides tomorrow. I'll send him tomorrow. That's not going to happen tonight. And then she gets a wild hair up her ass and invites Mr. Jonas to bed with her. And there's Southern Raids. "I've been known to say some nasty things. Fair warning." And he says back, "Dear lady, I shall be all ears." That's when he sends his the other big coffin hunters, sends them down there to guard the tankers. Right, he's setting up an ambush. He thinks they're gonna make their way back. He wants someone there, and he puts Brian Hookey in charge. Which we've met him before. He's the guy who owns the blacksmith. He does all the horsey work. And he puts him in charge because he knows he kind of has a level head. That's when they do the narsty. They do that narsty. And he says, "I'd never had better" to her, and she says, "No, Cully, nor I." So at least, something good happened here. You also kind of get a look at Jonas himself here. It mentions his bare back was covered with crisscross scars. She thought to ask him who had administered such a savage flogging and how he survived it, then decided she'd do better to keep quiet. You get the idea that this guy is like a very hard man and been through a lot of hard things, and she'd rather just not even mention it than even be curious enough to ask what happened. We as the audience know that he's a failed gunslinger, and he's one of the ones that couldn't beat his master, couldn't beat his teacher, and couldn't win his guns, and was therefore sent west, exiled. Now this chapter 4 is our last chapter, and is one of my favorite ones in this last 3 that we read. there's a lot of back and forth here, and one of my favorite things is Roland and Cuthbert. They start to have it out, and where are we at here? Here it is. Just before they get up and leave the barquet to like start their count, Roland. It says here, Roland straightened and they walked across the dusty yard toward the stables. Halfway there, he came to a stop so sudden that Elaine almost ran into his back. Roland was looking east. Oh, he said in a funny, bemused voice. He even smiled a little. Just Roland said mildly and walked on. So, like, Cuthbert's trying to figure out what the fuck is happening. Roland decides not to mention anything. There's definitely some, like disconnect there. They're not communicating the way you would expect a quartet to. They're not being nice to each other either.
No.
Tension's only been rising since Susan entered the picture.
I mean, that usually does happen sometimes, so especially when you're like supposed to be doing something important in your head.
Well, one thing that you can definitely count on is
place.
Cuthbert is jealous.
Yeah, a little bit.
There's definitely some jealousy there, and I think he even says it like, "Why are you always first?"
Yeah.
First to be a gunslinger.
I
First
think he
for
also
laid.
says it isn't fair.
Yeah. We jump back to town where Coral Thorin is trying to convince Shimi to go see the witch lady. She knows that he needs to bring a barrel of Graf, which is their like apple beer. Barrel of Graf to her, and she convinces him for it, and he goes, even though he doesn't want to. He's very scared of her. I think there's even one. What do you say?
Poor Shimi.
She's a scary lady, scary as a berry, got a wart on her nose right here. He hitches up his mule Capricoso, and they head out with the barrel of Graf to the old lady's house because Coral says there's probably going to be a couple of coppers in it for you, and wouldn't it be nice to have some money for the upcoming fair? So she convinces him. He's obviously a simple guy. What happens now is we go back to the bunkhouse and we find that Jonas has been waiting for them to leave. Once they did leave, Jonas pops out of cover and just goes through their shit and just destroys.
It was ham.
Just absolutely, like, he pisses on their clothes. He gets paint and writes shit all over the walls. He calls someone's mom a cunt. Like, there's...
Oh my gosh.
He kills all their pigeons. He fucks
He's a
up all
little
their
goblin.
clothing. It's like a little fucking tantrum. Like he loses his shit. But he also kind of wants to make them think that, maybe it's one of the, like, gangs of kids from town or something, right? Like he doesn't want it to be necessarily pointed at him.
Coffin hunters.
Doing just enough, but not too much.
That was an interesting thing because he did find the guns. He didn't find the handles he thought he might find. I guess the sandalwood grips. But then he put the guns back. I was kind of surprised at that.
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
The punk ass kids in town wouldn't be looking there.
They wouldn't have found it.
He did explain that
Yeah.
the looters wouldn't look in a spot like that.
It also mentioned that it took him a while to find it. He's walking across each board listening to how it creaks. So, jump back to Roland and the boys counting. And Elaine being in touch with what we call magic. Is it magic? Telepathy?
The touch?
They call it the touch.
Touch. Been
It would
touched.
be like
He feels it.
insight, I guess?
There's something happening. He's he's got his Peter tingle, right?
Like John
He even
Travolta.
mentions the pigeons. He says something
There's a
about the
disturbance in the
pigeons.
force.
He got chills.
Yeah.
Electrify it. He's like, we gotta go home. Like shit's going down. Like back at the bunkhouse. And Roland's like, yep, let's keep counting. And he's like, how can you just keep counting? He's like, do you trust me? He's like, yeah. And he's like, then fucking keep counting. But if it makes you feel any better, we'll probably head home early today. We get back. This is where Jonas finds the guns. He was really worried that they were going to be the big revolvers of the gunslinger. Turned out not to be. He rewrapped them and put them back. The gang of ne'er-do-well clots from town might possibly come out here and might possibly vandalize the unguarded bunkhouse, scattering what they didn't tear up. But find a hiding place such as this, my son? No, not likely. So he definitely understands, like, he has to convince them that it's just local hooligans fucking with their shit.
Didn't he have a dog's tail with him and left it there?
Yes, correct.
yes.
Because he stole it from the kids.
Yes.
That's what it was.
He also wrote in, like, really badly, like, childish paint, suck my prick and go home, you rich fuckers. Which I think is, you know, actually pretty cool. Like, I kind of want to have that as a slogan. Go home, you rich fuckers. At this point, Jonas jumps back on the horse. And then Jonas thinks to himself, like, yeah, for a blink or two there at the end, he felt uneasy, almost as though he'd been scented by some sort of in-world telepathy, mayhap. There is such. You know it. The touch, it's called. Aye, but that was the tool of gunslingers, artists, and lunatics, not boys, be they lords or just lads. So he, like, brushes it off. He's saying, like, kind of almost like convincing himself, right? Like, can't be that.
He thinks they're a
Can't be
problem,
that.
but they're still not as bad of a problem as he.
And
You
he's
know.
been doing this the whole book.
Like, okay, but they aren't gunslingers. They're just, they're just kids that just are a little too far in over their heads. And
In his
a little bit of
mind,
trouble.
I think it's like important to understand that, like, I think he thinks he's as good as a gunslinger, and that in that case, anybody else can't be as good as him unless they are gunslingers.
Yep.
But even then, I believe that he would consider himself an equal match, even though he was, sent west in disgrace. He's probably convinced himself that he's a hard ass, and probably one of the only hard asses he's ever been
and
around.
he would know a gunslinger if he saw one.
Well, Shimi makes his way to Ria's hut and is in absolute terror the whole time. She taunts him a bit, as she can do. She's like this disgusting skeletal woman living in the woods whose only single purpose for this day is to scare some little simple kid who's bringing her beer delivery.
But he didn't really see her this time, did he? She was, like, in the shadows still?
He saw her because she talked about giving him some mushrooms that would make her look like whoever
Anyone.
he wanted to be with.
She stepped into the sunlight, falling through the open door, wincing for a moment as if it dazzled her eyes. Clasped in her arms was the empty graph barrel, coiled around her throat like a necklace was Irma. Shimi had seen the snake before, blah, blah, blah. Today he had no such thoughts. Compared to Rhea, Irma looked normal. The old woman's face was sunk into the cheeks, giving the rest of her head the look of a skull. Brown spots swarmed out of her thin hair and over her bulging brow like an army of invading insects. Below her left eye was an open sore, and her grin showed only a few remaining teeth. She's pretty gross. She's definitely let herself go.
And the
Makes me
raider
think of like Snow White and like the witch when she looks like an old lady. She has like the weird nose and the thin
I can
hair and
see
all the
that.
other shit. That's what I can think of.
Anyways,
Or something from like
she's definitely disgusting. No matter how you slice it. It's like a crypt keeper almost kind of thing is what I'm thinking of.
The raider has been changing her voice as well. It's more raspy and like, oh, shit,
Yeah.
I'm old.
Yeah, she's definitely a disgusting person. She definitely also is up to no good. She gives Shimi a note and says, "Take this and give it to Cordelia Delgado. Do you know her?" And she said, "Mind you, show this to no one who can read, or some night you'll find Ermit waiting under your pillow. I see far, Shimi. Do you mark me? I see far." So she's warning him, don't tell nobody I'm gonna send my creepy ass snake after you. Lose it and I'll know, she whispered. Show my business to another and I'll know. Remember, son of Stanley, I see far. So he's scared as fuck, and he's like made his way out of there. Right around the same time, Roland decides, like, let's call it a day. We're done counting. It's around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's go back home. They head back home, and the bunkhouse doors open. They find all the destruction. Cuthbert finally realizes that, like, both of them kind of knew what was happening, or kind of had an idea of what was going to happen, and he starts losing his shit even more. He calls Roland a coward. That was fun. She has made you a coward, is what he says. So he's like, using Susan, saying that she's the one who's caused these problems. And what Roland says back is, he came to steal our guile and our caution. With you, he has succeeded. So he is still kind of like under the semblance that like he's in control, right? Like that he's like telling these guys, like, look, like, this is exactly what he wants, and if we feed into it, then he's gonna win. Elaine barely does it, but convinces Cuthbert to go outside and talk to him. And during their talk, like, some things are said that are not okay. He calls Roland a freak and a mutie, and that he shouldn't have been a gunslinger. Elaine tells him to calm down. Tries to get him to like see reason. He told him like that. He asked him, do you trust me? And then he does. And then if the fellowship breaks here, if the quartet breaks here, then it's going to be Cuthbert's fault, and then he'll never forgive him for that. He also gives Cuthbert the idea, like, maybe go take a ride, calm down, calm your nerves. Stay gone for a while. Let us, like, clean up and stuff or whatever. And that's what he does. He goes out and takes a long-ass ride and, kind of clears his head. And he just doesn't really get a very clear head. But he does get himself something better, which is a chance meeting with none but our lonely, graph-carrying Shimi, who is looking defeated.
Now, graphless and
yes,
noteful.
Yes, very, very, very noteful. Cuthbert, of course, just saved his life not too long ago, and that was the whole deal with the bar fight, was saving this kid's life. Well, when he comes up to him and he sees that there's something wrong, like, he definitely gets something out of him. He gets the note. The spell's kind of broken. He gets the note, and Cuthbert then takes it and reads it, obviously understanding like all the implications here. As we are jumping right back to the Traveler's Rest, Jonas is returning after doing all the cool stuff to their bunkhouse, and DePape says, hey, the Outrider is here. Someone has come from the good man, and I don't like him. He made me feel weird. He said he laughs like a dead person. He said that he changes who he looks like. He looks like other people is what he said. DePape says, let's see. We only talked 5 minutes and all, but once I looked at him and thought he was the old bastard from Ritzy, the one I shot. A little bit later, I throw him a glance and think, hellfire, it's my own paw standing right there. Then that went by too, and he looked like himself again. So there's definitely something happening here. And like Jones is like, man, calm down. Jesus, it wasn't farcing him himself, was it? Jonas is like, no, he was gigantic, and this guy's not gigantic, but he laughs like a dead person. What do you mean, like a dead person? And Roy DePape shook his head. Can't rightly say. So there's definitely, you can tell right away something's off about this guy. Which puts Jonas kind of on the hot foot. Now he has to go meet with this dude, who is kind of like the next part of their business is to figure out when and where they're going to like take all of these supplies that they're stealing and send them to the bad guy. Like that's kind of the pivotal motion here in this particular spot is when do we send the delivery? You'll remember every time they talked about the tankers that they talked about how they had new wheels, and I just imagine like, like big long gas trucks with like wagon wheels, spoked wheels, which is probably what it is. But they've made them ready for travel and filled them all up. We jump to Jonas, expecting a guy named Latigo, who's the guy that he spoke with first, but Roy was telling him that it's not the same guy. It wasn't Latigo. So as he made his way to the Chancellor's suite, he's confronted here. What does it say? Jonas rapped, "Come in, my friend," a voice, not Reimer's, called. Was followed by a tittery laugh that made Jonas's flesh creep. He laughs like a dead person, Roy had said. So who do we remember who titters?
The moment that... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He was just tittering.
I was just tittering.
The moment they said laughs like a dead man, I went back to when Roland woke up on the beach and the man in black was dead, and he said something about like hearing a laugh. Swore he heard something. Remember correctly?
Yeah, there's
That's all I can
definitely
think
some similarities, like right away.
Yeah.
It says he's wearing a black robe. He comes out from behind him. Jonas stepped a little further into the room, glancing into a gilt-framed mirror on the far side to check behind him. Without turning his head, no one's there either. Yet someone had spoken to him, someone who had been directly on the other side of the door from the sound. Jonas then drew his gun. So he's definitely like, what the fuck is going on here? When he draws his gun, the voice says, "Come now. No need for that. We're all friends here, all on the same side, you know." And then Jonas turns around, and where the guy just where he shouldn't have been, because he just looked and checked that spot in the mirror. Now there's somebody there. So see, Jonas's first thought that the fellow was bald had been wrong. The hair was simply cropped so stringently that it was nothing but fuzz. We get a good description of him, and he even tells Jonas to call him Walter. Walter.
But
Also,
did he say Martin?
Also, he notices that he has pointy teeth, like filed to a point. Pointed
Well,
teeth.
He thought he did.
And then and then he looks at him again. Nah, just regular old teeth. Just regular normal ass teeth.
It's like moments where he can see through his veil. Like see his true shit. It might
I
be
think
something
there
to,
was a
like,
line.
invoke fear, then comfort.
There's
to make them-
there's a line, and I believe we've already read it. I believe. If not, sorry, I don't mean to ruin anything, but they say he darkles and tinks. If that makes any sense. They describe this person as someone who darkles and tinks.
Nope, doesn't make sense.
No, but it does kind of
It'll make sense soon.
I say we would have remembered the word darkles.
darkles.
And tink. We'd be
And
like
tink.
tink.
So I'd never heard those before.
So there's a good little interaction here, and Jonas asks for his sigil, and he shows him a silver eye, just the big eye, and Jonas hates it. Jonas hates he said, why not cross swords or a battle axe or some kind of bird like a falcon, but like why an eyeball? You know, like it just makes him uneasy. He knows that if he was to push that back and touch this like sigil, that the eye would then like roll in its socket and like stare at him. Like he just knows that. So he tells him, I don't want to touch it. And so the guy just like calls it back. Just
That's
And
totally
then-
like. I mean, it's on the nose. Eye of Sauron, right? Like,
Yes.
You see
That's
it.
what I thought.
definitely. Beep-a-deep-a-dap-a-dip-a-doo. The man in black, they call him multiple times. The man in black tittered and made a come-along gesture with his fingers of his right hand. The silver buckle, that was what it looked like to Jonas, slid back to him and up the sleeve of his homespun robe. So he just called it back to him, and it like slid back up his arm and gone into the robe. "Call me Walter," the man in black said. "Good old Walter, that's me. Let's see where we are, where we're going. Let us in short palaver." So they start talking. There's also if you've read any of the other Stephen King books, there's one of them that focuses on this word "bool." He says, "Abracadabra, bool the end. Now, if we have finished the tiresome formalities." The word "bool," like the phrase "bool," generally means like, "Hooray!" You know, this is the prize at the end of like whatever quest you're doing. Hooray! You know, "bool the end." I think it came from Lisi's story.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you're interested in diving into that, it's a very fun book.
So good. My favorite.
Jumping
How
back
many
to the
Tam Tams
bunkhouse.
would you give it? Tam Tams would you give it?
10. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. 10 Tam Tams out of 10. We jump back to the bunkhouse where there's a confrontation. Cuthbert comes back and is just like psycho. It just absolutely
It's like crazy.
full
So far,
Cuthbert
this is my most favorite part of the book.
psycho. It mentions he has like a glazed look in his eye and he's very sarcastic, but also that he looks like he could just be absolutely like losing his mind. He says, "Roland, come outside. I gotta show you something." Come outside with me.
Son of a bitch. Come here, bud.
Just come here for a minute. Just.
It's at this point where like Roland finally starts questioning what he's been doing, and he says, "Cuthbert," this says to himself, "it'll be over in 3 weeks. If only I could tell you that." And then like something switches and goes, "What? Why can't you?" And that's when he realized like
Stop it.
he had not been
Go away.
Collaborating with his friend.
he had not been
His
the responsible
coworkers.
leader that they need for this job, and he wants to go see what Bert's gonna show him. You know, like maybe there's something here that we can like, you know, change things and like make things better. And Bert just gives him a straight up left to the jaw, right to the fucking chin, and like
He told him to look at something. He's like, "Come here, look over here, real quick."
he like
And
points to
then
the ground,
I'll-
like, "Hey, do you like look at this? Look, it's like right here. Let me just show you this." Pops him like pops him a good one, almost knocks him out, but like you know he's still coherent and
Dazed to where his body passes out.
He rings his
He
bell,
left
but
his
doesn't
body
knock his
for a
lights
minute.
out.
well this whole time Elaine is like, "Don't fight, stop, what are you doing? You sucker punched him." And that's when Cuthbert like really gets it off his chest. He shows him the letter, and the letter is from Rhea sending to Cordelia, and the letter reads, "Pure no more. He's had every hole of her he has, Will Dearborn. How do you like it?" It just like absolutely just pushing the proper buttons here, and lighting the one little fuse for the whole powder keg. And at this point, Cuthbert's fight with Roland put him on the road to intercept the letter. And now that he's back, he feels justified. At least justified enough to finally like clock Roland a good one and get him to wake up to the situation.
It was Ka, and he actually apologized for it after he got done.
All
Yes.
I can imagine though is like him being pissed off, riding off, and be like, "This bastard's going to jeopardize us." Then getting a letter, and then thinking, "That son of a bitch," and then just being so mad he stormed back. That's all I can imagine.
It's like that, like boast of like puffed up body and just like
Kind of like, "I fucking knew it.
I know
Told you
something.
so." Sorry.
Well,
You thought I
Um,
was fucking crazy. That was an I told you.
there's
moment.
definitely a come to Jesus moment here. They finally start seeing eye to eye. Roland drops to his knees, cries his pardon. Elaine agrees that he did what he had to do, and like, you know, Cuthbert is apologetic and like didn't want to have to like bring it there, but he also I think like kind of shows what kind of man he's going to be. He's willing to do the hard thing and make the hard choice, and even if it's, you know, like takes him forever, he will finally get to the point where he will do what he needs to do to make sure that like things are right. It's at this point where see, where's it at? They talk about Rhea, whether or not they're gonna kill her. Roland says, "Not unless she makes us. Not unless we have to."
I got a feeling. That is quite literally gonna bite them in the ass. I have a feeling that Rhea has a hand in the death of the Tet.
Well, their plan is to see her tomorrow, and just as soon as the sun is up, Roland and Cuthbert are on the way there. They're both very, very nervous, and even Roland points out, like, Susan walked up here by herself in the dark. And it's daytime in the morning, and this is fucking scary. So,
Get your shit together.
Roland is definitely admitting to like what's like made him blind, and he's seeing their like little affair like through other people's eyes, and he's seeing a lot of things. A lot of things are like coming together for him, and he just knows like this is the first move to like start fixing things and making things right. So he shows up and he calls her out. He calls her daughter of none. Rhea, I've brought something back to you, woman, something that you must have lost. Today I've been your friend, Rhea. If this had gone where you intended it to go, you would have paid with your life. Hear me well, Rhea, daughter of none, and understand me well. I have come here under the name of Will Dearborn, but Dearborn is not my name, and it is the affiliation I serve. More, 'tis all which lies behind the affiliation. 'Tis the power of the white. You have crossed the way of our Ka, and I warn you, only this once, do not cross it again. Do you understand? He also then tells her not to fuck with Shimi, and not to tell those things that she knows to anybody, including Cordelia, Jonas, Reimer, Thorin, or you'll die. Keep the peace and we'll keep ours. Break it and we steal you. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So he's definitely letting her know, like, this is the end of it. You shall not go further.
Fuck around, you shall find out.
I got a question. You're looking at the book right now. Was it steal or still?
Still, as in like death.
Like
still.
Okay.
You will be still.
Steal away.
Not steal.
Okay, that's what I was
Still.
wondering because I heard
Still,
them say steal, but I wanted to make
Will
sure.
still you, yes.
I was like, yeah, that makes more sense. I mean, other than like steal Earth.
Roland's about to turn and leave, and guess who shows up? But the damn snake. Cuthbert screams, Roland, look out, snake!
Snake!
But before the second word had left his mouth, Roland had already drawn one of his guns. He fell sideways in the saddle, fired 3 times. With each shot, the snake flipped upward again, its blood dotting red across the background of the blue sky and yellow leaves. The last bullet tore off its head, and when the snake fell for good, it hit the ground in 2 pieces. From within the hut came a wail of grief and rage so awful that Roland's spine turned to a cord of ice. Rhea's not happy. She says, oh, you bastard, you murdering Cull, you, my friend, my friend. She knows. She knows what kind of man he is. If it was your friend, you oughtn't to have set it on me. Remember, Rhea, daughter of none. On the way back, they plan on meeting, which is what he means about like introducing Susan to them, which is a very good step forward.
Finally.
If she's gonna be a part of this quartet, they need to know her.
Yes, and Roland kind of, the problem was keeping everybody separate and thinking that he could run this whole thing himself while being completely, absolutely ass backwards distracted.
His ass wasn't the only one that was backwards.
Well, Rhea actually, loses her mind over the snake. She grabs his head and kisses it, licked the last of the venom from the exposed needles, crooning and weeping all the while. Then she picked up the body. She tried to do some spells and incantations. Says twice she put the head against the body and spoke incantations, but nothing happened. I'll pay you back by all the gods that ever were. I'll pay you back when you least expect it. There Rhea will be, and your screams will break your throats. Do you hear me? Your screams will break your throats. That puts us to the end of our reading here. Chapter 19 was Rhea
On episode 19.
swearing vengeance. We're gonna start over here with the next reading section next week. Very action-packed here. A lot of things came to a point. I think Jonas destroying the bunkhouse was kind of my favorite part, just because of like you can kind of see how much he's losing it too, because he's under a lot of pressure as well, and like he wasn't expecting anything from these boys who showed up from the in-world to count fishing nets to be a problem. He's already got all these other problems he's been juggling around, and now like in a place where he expected calm is now another huge problem. It's coalescing.
At one point, he almost rode away.
Yes, and
He says, "I would have."
yeah, it says that he's done it before.
That suck my prick. It was great because my wife read to me while I was on my recliner eating grapes, and that's what
Lovely.
she opened up to. That was like the first thing.
Fantastic.
Suck my prick. Yeah, that's great.
Go home, you rich bastards.
He continually overestimates. Oh, I had a question for everyone. Now that Walter's here, we know Walter is like powerful and pulls the strings. Can Farson really be more powerful, or do we think Walter's really the force?
No, we're seeing we for myself, and I think the rest of us kind of forgot about the Man in Black. We know when he was left around Kansas, he had picked up the leader there, and that's the last we saw of him. But then for him to show up now, I think we kind of forgot about him, and we're kind of wondering if Rhea was this force. But now it's starting to be that Rhea's a puppet. Rhea was given the crystal ball to hold on to, and it's destroying her. It's like those. It's like the ring in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. This ball is destroying her. We've seen her go. And with the Man in Black showing up, he's the puppet master, and this John Farson is just another actor
That's what I
in
was
the Man in
thinking.
Black's forces.
Sort of. Well, I feel like he's just keeping himself entertained and he's using them to his advantage, and they think that he's working for them. I don't know anymore. No, this is just an assumption. So far, it just seems like he's behind everything. So he seems like he makes other people think that they're in charge when they're not, and he's just kind of just fucking around right now with this whole thing. I don't know. He's definitely continuing on character, so it's got to have more power to it than just a puppet master, but maybe a little bit bigger than that.
He's
See,
the devil.
And I would probably have to agree with that, Steve. Like he's, to me, he's like the embodiment of a concept. And in places where
Oh shit.
the forces that oppose the white need a person, it's him. And maybe he's not John Farson, right? He's not the guy who's like leading the revolt. He's not the guy who's like managing the actual war itself. But I can almost guarantee you that, you know, that he's pushed buttons to make that happen. He may not be the guy that's like driving the death machine, but he definitely gave directions.
Yeah, and kind of nudges where the road goes, because we've seen him do stuff before that like set other things in motion.
Yes. Lots of stuff. Like he set up Roland in the first book.
Even though with Jake.
That's where the Man in Black teetered first. was in Tull.
Yeah, he laughed over the dead body of the
And he
weed
was like
the
jumping
weed eater.
back and forth over him.
Yes. And he's done magic, and he's worn the same robe and kind of had like. Modus just had a light bulb turn on. I saw it.
His name was Nort.
Nort, thank you, Nort, the weed chewer, weed eater.
We're also seeing our story starting to come together.
Yes. The
And
threads are being pulled.
And that's where some of the reminders come in, where you're like, oh shit, okay, there's the Man in Black, and then Sylvia Pitson or whatever her name is.
Pitson, yeah.
But yeah, we're on a road to figure out why the gunslinger was chasing the Man in Black across the desert.
And you know what I want to know? I want to know how far away Sylvia had to walk. Like, how much farther west did she go before she plopped down her fat ass and put roots down in Toll? You know what I mean? How far away is that? We've heard about the world stretching, and I just kind of like imagine this stretch of time for Roland where like he's walking through a desert that just keeps getting longer as he goes through it.
Yeah, like
'Cause,
him walking it made it longer.
Exactly, like the story, right? The story he's telling now. The night goes forever. I feel like that walk was a trudge as well.
It's probably the same.
Its
Yeah,
own story.
Exactly the same thing with him telling the story. Like, no one's uncomfortable. No one stops walking. Like they're definitely in it for like the whole like duration of the story. But there's a definite like, how come time isn't passing properly right now? How come like we're like caught up in this almost like this spell? Like this person is telling a story that creates a spell almost that like has bound us together, but also slowed down the passage of time and like given us the opportunity to like be able to like sit and comprehend this thing. So,
and as much as we talk about our, I'm just going to say, as much as we talk about our stories coming together, Roland's still only 15.
Right.
So,
right.
No,
He's 14. Go ahead.
15. It's just
he's already grown a year being in this town.
Magic. That's true. I just feel like maybe storytelling in and of its own is like magic. Maybe kind of like a spell of its own. But the day stretches as long as the story does. If that makes any sense.
The story is captivating.
Yep.
There's a lot of technology, and in the first 3 books, I'm convinced there's a lot of technology. This book really convinces me there's magic in the world as well, right? Like this ball, I can't fathom is tech. Maybe it could, right?
It's very involved with the touch, I feel.
See, and that also makes me think about that quote about how they say that like if humans do come in contact with a much more advanced science, that it will look like magic to us. So.
Which, I mean, magic is just something
unexplained
to explain
science.
Unexplained, yeah. It's like aliens. They're just other beings.
Real
Just
mystic.
like us.
But there's a mysticness to this book that I feel like we didn't get in the first 3.
Yes.
Yeah,
We had seen
I like
glimpses.
You definitely do catch that, like, almost like reap time fall.
There's something much bigger
feeling.
than what we've been given so far.
There's a lot of
We're
other
getting a look
things,
into
things happening off in the distance for sure. Cuthbert punching Roland. For me,
I like that part.
the books kind of give you a little bit of it so far too, but like you get a correlation, right, between Eddie and Cuthbert. Like these 2 characters are.
Yeah, because even Eddie's had to like wake up Roland's ass a little bit, like.
It's exactly it. Like
had to.
it's almost like Roland is blind to certain things, and like in order for him to really understand these like other types of concepts, he needs someone else to point them out to him.
Roland gets very full and into himself that he forgets that the people around him also need to have an input, need to be lit in on things, that they need to be trusted with certain information because they could help him see more. But he refuses. Sometimes he just forgets. Sometimes he doesn't think. Sometimes he doesn't have enough faith in people, I feel.
Well,
Well, this time he was just busy being shacking around with Susan.
Well, when Eddie brought that up this time, like recently, probably in the last couple of books, like Roland kind of like shrugs it off as like, well, I've been alone for a long time. You know, like I've only kept my own counsel. I haven't had to like, you know, be with people for a long time, and you know, he almost uses it like as an excuse of like, you know, why he doesn't let people in and like why he's gonna be closed off. But like, it's obvious with this story that he's always been like that. You know, it's like it's not something that he learned from the hard travels of the road. Like, that's part of his character. You know.
Think about whenever he was talking about Eddie. Eddie's able to think around corners where Roland fails to think around corners. He's a very black and white kind of person.
It is what it is. It is what it isn't. It's that there is no. Well, maybe it's a little bit of both. It's just is or isn't
Yeah.
with him.
I like that about him because it makes me feel like I have something in common with him because that's the way I think, and I'm trying really hard to think in the gray, but like it's very, very hard for me.
For me, if something can't be answered, it drives me fucking nuts.
I can live with it.
Like,
I'm the kind of person where like I'm good with chaos. Like indecision and chaos is like what I was raised with, pretty much. So like I can just sit and live in chaos for, you know, as long as I'm willing to stand it.
mine is situational.
I cannot. Like I'm either happy or sad. You know, like I'm always one or the other. I'm never in between.
I'm all over the damn place.
Yeah,
I'm a very gray thinker.
Hey guys, I hate to dip out on y'all. Oh, I hate to dip out on y'all, but I'm really tired. My eyes hurt, and I need a break from
Yeah.
using them for a little bit. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'll probably be, you know.
Yeah, I
I'll see
will
you
put
guys
the
later
next
this
chapters
week.
in the Discord, so
So,
you should be able to
okay,
grab those.
thank
soon.
you.
Good night.
No, thank you.
Good
Good
night,
night.
Pops.
Good night.
Boom. Then there was Foe. So
Or cameras.
the number 19 has not been a huge part of what's going on here yet, but I know that it's going to continue to grow for us, and we're going to continue.
You have to think higher. This is chapter 19. Everything is starting to everything makes sense, and has a direct path now.
Well,
We
there's
went through
definitely
all
a
these
lot
chapters
of.
where everything's coming together, and then boom, 19 is whenever we hit our drive. It's the same thing that happened in Drawing of the Three and the Wastelands.
What do they say about castling? Like coming around your hillock, and like you're starting to see.
Yeah, peeking around your hillock.
Yes, we've kind of had a peek now at like what everyone else is kind of hiding, and there's a lot of like players who have advantages over certain parts of the board here, and we're kind of seeing how those things fit together. We just got the Man in Black reveal, which is great. I don't think that was an accident happening right now here in this part of the story, so keep an eye on that shit. I also really enjoy like he takes his time at like every time it happens where he describes the Reap Fair and the preparations for the festival, and you know, keeps you kind of moving with the town. Like you get, you know, the workers are like doing their final harvest. There's broken legs in the field. There's like muddy wagons being pulled out of ditches. Like there's life still happening. There's this whole town of people this whole time has just been living, and there's good things happening and there's bad things happening, and you know, sometimes it's, I think she even meant like they were talking about like what Rhea was seeing through the ball. It was like incest, and you know, boys cutting the tails off of dogs, and you know, a bunch of shit
And we
like
see
that.
that tail again later.
And the ball doesn't show you the happy things either.
Right.
So I'm thinking this ball is a tool of evil.
See, like,
Wait a
Put
minute.
there for a reason.
is it possible that
Wait.
she's just summoning evil things because she herself is evil?
How come she can't get anything else to show?
And she has to be focused on it, so it has to pull from her to what she wants to see. I think it depends on who the looker is.
We're gonna find out.
There's a passage somewhere where I think she says she tries to look at other things, but
Yeah.
all it seems to want to show her.
I think
gotta
the
go
other
look
thing
for it.
we've seen though is
Could be another
when
demon.
the events of this series happen, they explode hard, and we saw that in the city when the train left, how people were killing each other in the streets and everything like that. That we've
Yeah.
given enough glimpses into these people and how they've situated themselves in different factions that when this blows up, I think we're going to see this town take itself right off the map. Just because of who's on the mayor's side and who's not, who's involved in Susan's world and that, I think it's going to explode, especially when someone like the Man in Black comes to
Who
town.
shared the cup of sugar and the cup of flour? I mean,
I think Shimi's gonna be the best gunslinger in the world, and he's just gonna take over everything. And Roland is just actually a dream in Shimi's mind. The end.
fuck.
You know what? That ends our discussion for the night, you guys.
That is 19
have a good
level of thinking.
Do you think young Roland is a hero?
I think he's 15.
He's a gunslinger.
I
He
think,
also go ahead.
No, you go ahead because I'm still developing mine.
He's
He
15
knew-
and a gunslinger. Sorry.
He knew that Jonas was back at the camp. He knew what Jonas was doing and what he wanted. He still hasn't. He's hard on himself for what he's been going through with Susan, but at the same time, he still has his finger on the events. of
See,
what's
but
going
also
on.
like, here's the thing though, right? Like he saw Jonas, and he knew what he was doing, and so to him it wasn't a secret. But like he actively chose not to tell anybody else.
That's
He
why
just said like, "Hey, if you
paused.
trust me, shut the fuck up."
That's why
and
he
do what I
paused
say.
While before they were going out, he paused and looked east.
Right.
And he said, "Oh,
He mentions that he saw
jokingly.
he saw
Yes.
a flash of light, and he caught the reflection of something. And
I think it was like a O, as in, oh, this is
Oh.
happening sooner than I expected."
yes, it shall be
They're
today
catching
then.
on. Yes,
But there's definitely like a feeling of,
there's
you know,
a lot of cockiness.
yeah, like he's keeping it all to himself. Like he's probably convinced himself, well, I'm the gunslinger, and these guys
Yeah,
are just like apprentices.
I don't think
I think
No.
they should have gone back and capped him. It would have been a perfect opportunity.
I mean, can you imagine that? Just roll into town and like execute somebody and roll out.
I think that it would have caused an
They-
uproar.
They wouldn't have been able to keep counting shit.
No,
They'd have started
because
some kind of trial. There'd be a whole fucking
he's
to
wearing
do.
badges now, so
Yeah, and he's now he's working for the sheriff. So
that. Okay, why not let his
Jeff-
friends send back messages?
why not?
What's the deeper plan on that as well?
That's a good question.
Because
Part
now
of
the
it
old
was-
pigeons are dead.
part of it was for. It could have been a lot of fear for the gunslingers to come down. It could have been that he was just doing it because little shitheads would do it as well.
Do you think that he was a little ashamed of what he was doing instead of like, being there for his friends? Maybe.
Yeah.
Or he didn't want
Yeah.
his fantasy world to end, maybe?
Yeah, maybe he's like thinking that could be the end of it. If
He would
if
take that
if
with
Dad
him.
shows up with his big
Hold on,
guns
are we
and solves the
overthinking
problem,
a roll inside? I was over on fucking Jonas's.
I just don't see
I'm
how
thinking.
getting your birds killed, your communication cut. I don't see how this is an appropriate play for the boys. Like,
It does-
what does
it
this
does
gain them?
Now that I'm on that side, it's a like a proving moment.
See, but that's what pisses off Cuthbert
Like,
so much,
super
right?
confidence. Yeah,
'Cause it's like Roland says,
he's
"Oh,"
being so
right?
cocky
Like-
with it.
Oh, like not that he's like didn't expect this, but that's maybe it's happening so soon, or like that
So
you're so
what?
fucking clumsy about doing it even.
So, what we've learned about the quartet is they have shared thinking, sort of. They're all sort of feeling what each other's feeling, right? But they're so detached at this moment that O wasn't.
Well, also think about
registered.
this too. Like he tells Cuthbert, if you want to send your letter tomorrow, you can send every letter you want to, knowing someone's going to show up to the bunkhouse and find their secret pigeons and probably kill them. If you want to send your letter tomorrow after all the birds are dead, go for it.
Yeah.
It's not like someone who's going to break in, especially knowing it's probably going to be one of the big coffin hunters, right? Like, they're not going to just send some deputy up there. It's going to be one of the, like, hard men. And knowing that someone's coming and going to, like, shake down their fucking house, then he tells Cuthbert, like, you can send your letter tomorrow. If things work out the way that I plan to, you won't need to. But if tomorrow happens and you still want to, then go for it.
And it's still a huge mistake by Jonas, too, because Jonas is sitting there thinking, I'm going to make it look like kids did it and leave the guns behind and everything like that.
Right.
But it was never taken that way. It was never even a thought that other people did it.
Yeah.
They
didn't even, weren't convinced in the slightest.
Yeah, so.
I think this is the peak around the hillock.
Yes.
Right? And Jonas wants them to take it. Try to take the shot. Here's my head.
Shoot off your nose when you do.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the Fane, right? Which means...
So Roland's got him now, maybe.
Yeah.
Rhea's done licked that fang. Both of them.
See, and then you got the wild card, right? You got the old bitch lady with the fucking magic kitty cat. Like...
that snake.
The soaking ass wet kitty
snake.
cat.
Also, we can touch on what the snake has been doing, right? Like, we all remember reading that part.
That was a little slurpy.
Yeah, the snake was burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah. Stephen King slides something in there into his book that just makes you go, why?
because now you know just how revolting it is to be this person, and it just gives you that much more depth into their character. That's a level deeper than what you would normally expect to get. So, that's
a level deeper.
That's what shocks you.
Is she dangerous? I'll ask the readers.
Is she dangerous?
Ooh.
Rhea.
Rhea.
That is a good question. We will find out as we continue. That's for sure. How far do you think we should get this next read?
I think we should finish the book.
Finishing the book by next week. Got it.
It's picking up steam. I think we can.
Modus said that last week.
What? Finish the book
last week.
Yeah.
Shit, what do you guys have me doing reading a 900-page book?
I say we go to chapter 8, The Ashes. That's about 100 pages. It's 3 more chapters, 5, 6, 7.
If we get to
violence.
If we go to chapter 10, Beneath the Demon Moon, that is halfway to the end. Roughly halfway. Mine's 850, and
yeah, no, it's going to be Beneath the Demon Moon is going to be like
Beneath the Demon Moon 2.
No, we need to stop where we're stopping.
I was trying to appease to Steve.
Steve's not going to read the whole fucking thing. Are you kidding me?
I just realized it's another fucking 400 pages.
Yeah, so
657 is the end.
Oh, you're not in? You're not into the end? You're balking?
So, I'm suggesting 100 pages. Candace suggesting 200.
100 pages.
Okay.
Let's finish off at chapter 8.
We're going to stop at chapter 8, The Ashes.
That way I can read it on a Saturday morning or a Friday night again.
Yes, and I think, honestly, like for some people, getting it in one chunk is the best way. I prefer it that way, if I can.
I read it on a Monday and I forgot by the time we got together. And it was funny because I'm thinking about this meeting tonight. I'm going, yeah, nothing happened again. They just kind of moved some pieces around. And I thought, oh. And then as you did the recap, and then I'm going, holy shit! Like we didn't even really talk about Jonas and his searching and how he almost missed it and found the skull in the grass.
Yes, Jonas himself actually is a really cool character. Like I like the kind of like sly bad guy that he is. He kind of has like a really.
He thinks he's so cool.
Yeah.
But he's kind of fallen short.
I
Well, he
find him to
plays.
be a weird adversary for the boys because he's so out of their league. You know,
It
Well,
seems that much.
I thought there was a lot of great comparisons between, their leadership styles and shit. There was one
I'm
more
stuck
thing.
with the age and
You guys
experience.
keep
I guess.
talking.
Yeah, no, yeah, no. That's exactly it. Like, there's a direct correlation between like Roland not doing anything right, and Jonas like fucking like maintaining his shit throughout all of it.
Yeah, I mean,
The
they're both
only
getting their
time that
dicks
he
wet.
ended up losing his shit is when he decides to like destroy their bunkhouse. But it's almost like it's therapy for him, right? Like he pretends it's some kid so he can just let go and just destroy all their stuff because I think deep down he really wanted to do that. As soon as like his men mentioned in a couple chapters ago that they wanted to go down there and like fuck with them, and he told them not to do that, that they need to be more cautious and they're playing castles and you need to wait, and I think this is like the time that he wants to like show a little bit of their hand, because I think he knows after all the suspicions that he has just what he's dealing with, or at least he suspects he knows, he thinks he knows just what he's dealing with, and that's why he's willing to go over there and fuck with their shit, because it's an obvious play.
But he still believes that them being only children, they're not anticipating
Right.
them coming over. They're not anticipating all the bullshit that's been going on, even though they come from the land of gunslingers.
Well, it is kind of funny,
They're
right?
not
Like
trained and honed and shit.
that of the two
That's the first
groups,
thing.
the one doing the most childish thing is the one led by the old man. But, to him, he's just meeting like with like. He's treating children like children. He's doing childish things to them, hoping that they'll react in a childish way. So there's definitely some meat there. Like, and I think as we continue, also we'll see more of Jonas, and we'll see more of Jonas's leadership, and we'll be able to like definitely see where it leads. that's for sure. And we'll see where Roland's leads as well, because we've seen so far like he's not very good at it.
Left
I'm not
Jonas. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm not convinced that Jonas has matured past being sent west.
There you go. He definitely thinks highly of himself enough to tattoo a big coffin in the back of his hand.
He also went from finding this skull in his in something that he's been trying so hard to hide from everybody all this time, to deciding whether he was going to ride out of town or not, to then just trashing Bar K.
Yeah,
He's kind of
it's almost like the reckless, like all in move, right? It's like yeah, it's like he's the one driven past control.
We've left him with his meeting with the Man in Black, and I think he may come out of that changed. I'm not too sure.
Well, like think about this too. If he hadn't have gone there and messed their shit up, would Cuthbert have had the courage to do what he did? And if he didn't do that, would he have had the time to cool off on the walk to go meet Shimi? And if he didn't meet Shimi and that letter made it to where it was headed, like what else could have happened?
Yeah.
So there's
they
like there's
never woke it rolling up.
I had to actually rewind the audiobook because that's where my mind was going. I'm like, shit, I missed what they were saying because my mind was already thinking about it.
Yeah, like there's a definite kind of like almost feeling of things locking into place. Like there's all these threads are finally coming together, and you're starting to see like, what the tapestry actually is, and it's I really enjoy the way that because if you think we're fast paced now, just wait. Like a lot of times once his books start racing, like they don't stop, and that's one of the best things about it is you get about halfway through and you get a bunch of these details and you're just like juggling backstories and like little bits of lore and like stuff, and then all of a sudden like something lights a fire and all that shit becomes important, and all those little things are little pieces that finally come together after the end of this huge, like really energetic shuffle. All those things come together in this really like amazing kind of way, and that's the magic of of like reading through his books for me at least, and it's
I'm telling you,
it's just starting.
That pattern is why 19 is so important. By the 19th chapter, you're on fire. You're going. Everything's making sense, and you're on your path. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Keep getting sections, so then we never get to chapter 19.
But this chapter did, and it lined up for us on the perfect 19th episode, and you know.
Sorry.
and also
I will
like
settle
just like
and say
looking at it, like
Wisconsin.
it's not like all the way. Shit, that's really bright. You can't really see where the bookmark is. There we go. It's not like all the way, but we're like 2/3 of the way through.
Oh yeah, we passed half this time.
Oh yeah, definitely did. We're doing good. Pace is working out for me. Yeah, yours is the same thing. It's too fucking bright. The white sends too hard of a reflection.
I'll have to color the top of the book.
Or put a gel on your light. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for doing it really simply without any worry of lighting in whatsoever.
I'm a potato.
Ah.
There's the beginning, and there's what we is.
Where's Tam Tam's book?
Anything else?
I do audio.
This was
So-
Tam Tam's book.
Do we know who the wizard is, and do we know what the glass is?
Yes.
Oh, wait. What,
Wizard is the
Ding
six-legged
ding ding
cat.
ding ding ding
Are
ding.
we
ding.
going to be
Musty.
satisfied? Are we going to be
I
satisfied
agree.
by the man in black fucking up Rhea
What?
Put her there.
and taking that damn ball?
Do you think she's gonna give it up?
No, she ain't gonna fucking give it up. He's gonna have to kill her.
He put that ball there for a reason. Somebody gave it to Rhea to hang on.
He's got to reclaim it.
19 in regard. Are we there yet? Does that mean anything to us?
Yeah.
Regard. Give my regards to the man in black. He's back.
Definitely think there's a bit of looking back going on, and you know we're stuck in this like flashback story, and we're definitely starting to feel that like quicken, and now we're also kind of talking about like the meta of like the people listening to the story, that you know like what does the story mean to them, you know, like how are they like learning and like growing from this, and like what does that do?
They're wishing that Roland never pulled them through the fucking door.
They're really going, why didn't I take the blue pill?
Exactly. Why not just jump in front of the subway? Damn it, Roland!
We know that the man in black is Martin as well.
Yeah, we've learned a lot of that as also.
So his father said, "Stay away from Martin. Under no circumstances you get in contact with him, pretty much."
Do you think he's gonna bang Susan now too?
He might, but it's a good thing that it's Walter and not Martin.
Oh dang, that's right.
So one and the
I get those
same.
two mixed up. I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced that they're different people.
I don't think they are.
Not with them shape-shifting, but it's
I think a guy that can look like your dad and the guy you killed to like 2 weeks ago at the same time kind of could be called two different names and it not be like a big deal.
and it's
Well, they
the
just
good
showed that
man's
in the meeting.
magi.
Yes, and he wears robes, and he does mention traveling through magic doors. So
Last thing I'll say is I thought the dimming was cool. Rhea's little trick to disappear,
yes,
going dim.
yes.
But if you look out of the corner of your
Use that one
eye,
on OBS. It works pretty well.
dimmer.
A dimmer. Guys, I'm looking forward to continuing this with you. We're going to go ahead and call it a night for the stream. It was a great show. Thanks for being part of it. Episode 19. Anybody have any final last? Oh, Steve says he's dimming out. That's it. He's there. He just made it to where you can't see him because he cast a spell.
Let's see if I can do that in a moment.
Oh, shit, I lost it. Modus is gone now. It's just a big bloody red blotch.
Is it red?
It is kind of red, yeah.
Red?
I could
It was like the glow of the orb.
kind of see your blood.
See it everywhere.
Halloween's coming up soon. We're getting to our reap time as well. Is anybody experiencing actual fall weather right now? Can tell me about it.
Yes.
I just want to
Yes,
hear.
we
I
are.
just
Are
wanna
there colors? Are there colors?
Yes, the color, the trees and stuff.
What's
is
your temperature right
changing.
now? How?
63 and clear.
I want to try.
Oh my!
fuck
It is
right.
chilly. Like we thought. Ooh, let's make some soup. Y'all don't make soup down in
soup.
Florida, but we're like, a good soup.
I'm gonna make a southern style pot roast tomorrow.
Sweet.
The other day we were 53 and raining. It's coming.
It
Leaves
was
haven't changed.
it was 94 today and rained 3 times.
Yeah.
And you're gonna turn the oven on and make a pot roast? Like, jeez, man.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be the
Still
crock pot,
cook
so
that
it's
on
super.
the
It's like
patio.
super low heat.
Just put it on this sidewalk.
No. I'm gonna like fucking. I'm gonna.
If you can
I'm gonna do it
smoke
up
the
good.
meat,
I'm not gonna smoke it. I can't turn the grill on because this is gonna get rained on.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be so
Sweet.
good though.
I just really like
Pressure
hearing
cooker?
about people who have at least a little bit better feeling outside than me. You guys can probably see this here. There's more here. And there's more down there, but we're going tomorrow to pick them up. We're gonna go pick up our new pet rats tomorrow. Looking forward to that.
So, what are you gonna name them?
I will introduce you to them. I don't know what to
Can
name
we
them
help
yet.
name them?
I will consider any suggestions. However, I am not committing to like letting anyone have final say. I
Right.
learned the lesson from Bodie McBoatface 10 years ago.
Because they're gotcha days.
Yep. We now know when you get in your rats. It's Jackson's birthday. We'll never forget.
Oh yeah, nice. It'll be the same
I
day he
name him-
becomes a man and I become a child again.
It's a happy day. 12 is a
Yeah.
good day.
12 years old? Wow.
Yeah, 12's a good year.
It is.
A year for him.
Hey, let's end on that. Let's end on that. 12's a good year. I believe
Episode 19.
our homeboy Jake is 12 right now, so you know.
That's why I tried to get Jack to read for Jake's part.
Wait till he's like 14 or 16.
I meant just Jake's parts.
Oh, you mean for the reading? No, he won't do that, will he?
No, I don't think so.
It's fine. We just got to get
I
someone
tried.
with a childlike voice to come do it. Either way, thanks for being part of the stream. We're gonna end it on an awkward note. Next week, maybe Friday or Saturday, depending on people's lives and shit. We're gonna have 3 more chapters and have seen some shit.
Nice.
Good night.
Yeah, have a good.